your attention. I'm Taylor Berg. This is Caroline. I've had the pleasure of being a James family pal for the past 2 years. And Caroline has been their family pal for the past 3. This is Miss Shelley, Mr. Rick, and this is Aaron, and this is Ricky. He passed away in 2010. And I will let Miss Shelley tell you all a little bit more about their story. It really is incredible, so please be quiet and pay attention and listen.
Hey guys, how are you? This is our 7th dance marathon. Our first one was in 2010. Ricky was here with us for that year. We joined Dance Marathon in 2009, and we got to have a blast here in 2010. I'm really excited this year. If you've been here in the past, we've always had a different picture. Being here, everybody gets to see how Aaron's grown and all the other families, you see how much the kids have grown. Unfortunately, because Ricky's not with us, we're not able to. And this year, thanks to Super Kate's mom, I have a new picture of Ricky, so I'm super excited to unveil it here. So I'm going to start off telling you a little bit about our story. April 1st, 2007, at the age of 22 months old, to the day, Ricky was really constipated, and after trying all kinds of things, we ended up at Scottish Rite. Within 20 minutes of walking in the door, they rushed Ricky into X-ray and drained 300 cc's of urine from his bladder. Remember, he was only 22 months old, so that was a lot. After giving him what they call the king of all enemas, nothing happened. And about 3 hours later, the doctor comes into the room and tells me that Ricky's got something blocking his rectum. He's 22 months old, the child is into everything. I'm thinking he swallowed a quarter, let's remove it. And that's when they told me we're not going to be able to. Ricky's got a tumor, we're 99% sure it's rhabdomyosarcoma. His father was out of town. I hit speed dial, handed the phone to the doctor. Rick made it from Virginia by 8:30 the next morning. And we were immediately admitted. And I'll never forget the feeling walking up the stairs. They got the room numbers wrong. They thought we were going into room 343. The time the Aflac unit was just, you had the same size rooms as everyone else. It was just a separate little section of the hospital. And our room was actually 323. So we walk into 343 and they say, no, he's down there, and they take us back, and before you walk into 323, you see the sign that says Aflac Cancer and Blood Disorder Center. I was 4.5 months pregnant with Aaron. Rick was still out of town, so I was standing there by myself, and all I remember is hitting the ground. My knees just went out. That's when reality started. I still can see myself in my maternity blue jeans and my black shirt. We went into the hospital. Rick got there, my mother got there, our best friends got there. They ran some more tests. We got to see the pretty pictures, and sure enough, he had a 5.1 centimeter tumor blocking his rectum, and it was rhabdomyosarcoma. Rhabdomyosarcoma is a cell-based cancer that attaches to your soft muscles. In Ricky's case, it attached to his prostate. So we began chemotherapy within 2 days. Our first year of treatment, Ricky's treatment was mostly outpatient. I think every 3 weeks we'd go into the hospital for 5 days at a time. Ricky underwent 52 weeks of chemotherapy. He had 28 days of 50-grade radiation during that time. And I was 4.5 months pregnant with Aaron when we started that journey. He started his radiation on July 1st. His last radiation was August 13th. She was born on August 8th. So I missed 3 of his last 4 radiations, and his very last radiation, after bringing her home with a C-section on Saturday, that Monday morning, I carried him into his last radiation treatment. Hurt like hell, but there's nowhere else I would have been. Ricky was declared no evidence of disease after his radiation, but we continued with his chemotherapy to complete it. They don't say remission, especially for rhabdomyosarcoma, until you've gone 5 years. We never ever got into remission. As I stated, it's a cell-based cancer, and it's also very resistant to chemotherapy. If one single cell resists the chemo, it multiplies on its own. It doesn't need any friends, and once it clusters, it's identified. So after you're declared NED and you finish your regimen, you've got 3 months usually until your next set of scans. In Ricky's case, at 2 months, we started exhibiting the same symptoms, and mother's intuition kicked in, and I demanded an immediate scan. Ricky's tumor had grown back and was now attached to his bladder and prostate. And because of the extensive radiation that he initially had, he could not have any more radiation to the same region. So we decided to do very aggressive surgery. And we went on our Make-A-Wish trip in September to Disney, which was great. Did you have a good time? She was little. But we went to Disney and we came back, and on October 8th, Ricky had his bladder, his prostate, all the surrounding lymph nodes, his transverse colon, and a portion of his urethra removed. They created a conduit with his transverse colon and he wore a urostomy bag. Now, unfortunately, we all never got to meet Ricky. A lot of the alumni have. In my opinion, they were blessed to get to know Ricky. He was a spitfire. Ricky never, ever complained about anything he went through. He always said thank you after you held him down and shoved things into him. He always apologized if he yelled at you. He loved life. He had an incredible sense. He was an old soul. I think that's a good description. He was an old soul. This was the hand he was dealt. And, hey, it's who I am. He walked into his preschool class and pulled up his shirt and said, I pee out of a bag and I can write my name straighter than you. But, so our second year of treatment was in major surgery and more chemo, more aggressive chemo. We were in the hospital a lot more. Scottish Rite was phenomenal. They would bring a crib in from NICU, and Erin would stay at the hospital with us. Started off going to her godmother's house, and at 3 weeks old, we didn't get admitted until late. So we decided that by the time Mom got her to her godmother's house and back, it was just going to be ridiculously late. And Ricky really didn't want anybody but Mom at that time. Usually he'd yell at, but he wanted Mommy. So we set up her pack and play in this tiny little room, and from that day forward, Erin was his best sense of medicine, and she always stayed at the hospital with us. So Erin learned to crawl, talk. You want to tell? You want to tell the Bucky story? She has a Bucky story she likes to share. You want to tell it? All right, we're good. This is a first, so we'll see how it goes.
When I was in the hospital my brother taught me how to dance and to push the silver handicap bike. So he taught me if you go get some books out of the nurse's station and stack phone books and stack them up, then you can climb on top of them and push the little silver button, the handicap button. I call it the escape button. and then I crawled out through. Mom thought it was like probably a mile up to the fish wall, so I crawled all by myself to the fish wall while I walked. All the way up to the fish wall, and then security brings me back, and they tell my mom, I believe this is your child, because when you stay in the hospital so long, they tend to know where you belong.
So yeah, after that, the nurses did remove the phone books from the nursing station. But the kids, they grew up in that hospital setting. They used to run around on their tricycles with Ricky's IV pole, which would scare the heck out of us, but that came to master it. They would do all kinds of things. They had the game room at Scottish Rite that the kids would play in. She had her own charts up at the nursing station, so she would go up there and do her charts daily. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Ricky's second battle was very aggressive chemotherapy. There's not a whole lot of research into childhood cancer, and there's very little. Rhabdomyosarcoma affects 300 to 400 children in the world. So you can imagine there's not a whole lot of research that goes specifically towards rhabdomyosarcoma. The medication and the chemotherapies that we were on were adult strength, and they were 30 years old. So, it was a shot in the dark. We did what we could. Unfortunately, Ricky's body was tired, so he would get neutropenic quite often. And we ended up in the hospital from November 2nd until November 2nd, 2008 to February 25th, 2009. We were home 20 days. Let's think again, that was a long time. During that time, Ricky was in isolation for 5 weeks. He developed staph infection, MSR, MSA, and C. diff. Erin could not be with us. We actually had to send her to Philadelphia for 5 weeks to stay with my family. During that 5-week period, we were home for 4 days. Ricky was in isolation. He was not allowed to leave the room. I finally convinced the doctors and nurses that that was grounds for suicide attempt on my part. He was 3 or 4 years old at that point. So we did have an agreement with the doctors that we were allowed to leave the room for 1 hour every day. He had a wagon that got burnt after we got discharged. Ricky was not allowed to leave his wagon. He was not allowed to touch anybody or anything or be touched by anybody or anything. We would go down to the gift shop. The women that worked at the gift shop knew us because everybody knew us at that point. And they would come out and hand me a handful of balloons that Ricky hadn't picked out yet. And Ricky would pick out a balloon, they would blow it up, we would take it back to our room. We had the biggest room in the hospital for those 5 weeks, thank goodness. And 35 large helium balloons, or what are those, Mylar, the helium? Anyway, they do fit in a large Saturn SUV if you try, because they wouldn't let me deflate any of them. So that in February 2009, we were declared NED again, and for 6 months, we discovered almost normal. Ricky wasn't sick, he never felt sick, we enrolled him in preschool, we did a lot of family stuff, we really lived a lot, and our family motto became live, love, laugh, and make memories. In August of 2009, Ricky went in for his 6-month scans and there were lesions on his lungs. We're not happy. At that point, they told us that in 6 weeks we're gonna do another set of scans. So we didn't wait quite that long, we did our second set of scans, and at this point he now has 14 lesions. So on September 17th of 2009, this picture was taken. Rick and I met with his doctors, and the Simmons family took Ricky and Aaron while we visited with them, with the doctors, and we laid out our next course of action. Our treatment options were very minimal. We had the option to go to the National Institute in DC for an extremely invasive therapy treatment that they were in the study process. That would have involved Ricky being laid up for almost 6 weeks. And it was a very extremely invasive procedure. Rick and I had done our research. We'd been in this battle for 3 years. We knew what we were up against, and we opted for quality rather than quantity. At that point, we knew that we were going to end up saying goodbye to our son. Right around that time, we joined UGA Miracle. And we have some phenomenal family memories, great times. I don't know, are they playing the video? Okay. We had a video that had a picture that was taken. It's one of my favorite pictures at UGA Miracle Night at the Gladiators. And we got to go on the ice, and we got a picture with the mascot there of the 4 of us, and it's probably one of my all-time favorite pictures. Ricky then we decided to do what they call palliative treatment, which was basically to try and keep the cancer from spreading and keep it at bay as long as possible, in hopes that somebody out there figures out what we can do to save our son. But we decided to live, love, laugh, and make memories during that time, and we had a blast. Rick and I also made the very hard decision that as long as Ricky was Ricky, we would continue the chemo. But when the chemo started to take Ricky from us, it was time to stop and stop torturing him. And Ricky handled it well. I had to give him shots at home, which was loads of fun. Scream bloody murder every time, but he got really good at them. I just give him a look and he'd be like, no, and hold up his leg. So on May 5th, we came to our first dance marathon, February 2010, and it was incredible. We were in the green color group, and Ricky, and they had 2 bounce houses in the very back, but y'all have grown so enormously. I mean, for someone who's been here, this is our 7th, you have no idea how big this is. I'm sure you do, but like for us seeing it from 7 years ago, wow. There were 2 big bounce houses in the back. There would be no room for them today, which is awesome. Thank you very much. And Ricky, you would see a green streak running from side to side. Ricky's family pal from that day. Katie, where are you at? She's here somewhere. Katie can attest to it. It was very busy. And if you think Aaron's hectic, she had both of them. So, we came here, Ricky kept on his chemo, we did a lot of family fun stuff, and on May 5th of 2010, Ricky went into the hospital in heart and respiratory failure. So we had to start having all the hard conversations, and the doctors informed us, we can rejuvenate his heart, let's see what we can do. So they put us into the PICU, which was, we were very blessed, aside from Ricky's surgery, and the 6 hours, he only spent 6 hours in PICU after an 8.5-hour surgery. which was amazing. He had such a strong resilience. For the first time, we were in PICU for 5 days, and they gave him an IV drip to help rejuvenate his heart, and we were amazed. It worked. His heart bounced back, his respiratory infection cleared up. He did really, really good. Unfortunately, his kidneys were tired, and when your kidneys give out, they don't come back, they're not going to. We brought Ricky home on May 17th, and not to say goodbye, but to finish living. Erin had a book that her play therapist had given to her after we lost Ricky that explained how everything here on earth is here for his lifetime. And it really put it into perspective for me. And I was blessed and honored to be chosen to be Ricky's mom for his lifetime here on earth. And when we took him home on May 17th, it was to finish living his lifetime with us. And we know he's still here with us in our hearts. But on May 23rd, 2010 at 11:07 at night, it was just the three of us with Ricky. He took his last breath after telling us he loved us. And every year I tell this, I say I'm not going to get upset. What am I going to do? I lost my child. Ricky would want us to continue coming here year after year, and as long as we're continuing to be invited, we will be here. Our family has since joined KSU's Dance Marathon, which this will be our first year attending it. We also, my high school, I graduated up in Pennsylvania. They do a mini marathon for Penn State, and Erin and I will be flying up there in March to speak at that for the second year. As long as we continue to share Ricky's story, he lives beyond our hearts, and for allowing us to do that, I thank you very much. Being at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, specifically Scottish Rite, we had very minimal experiences at Eggleston, and because we were so acclimated to Scottish Rite, our experiences at Eggleston were being compared to something that was just phenomenal. Scottish Rite was our family. The nurses to this day are still our family. Even after Ricky passed away, he was included in wedding videos for his nurses. His nurses were at his funeral and services. They were at his unveiling ceremony for his headstone. They are a part of our lives and will always be my family, just like a lot of the alumni. And a lot of you out there are going to become my kids too. Being here gives us the opportunity to share Ricky with you, but to also thank you for what you're doing and giving of your time and your selflessness in enabling families like ours to be together when we need to be together, not have to worry about all the extras. Ricky, everything here goes to the CIRU, which is phenomenal. We were fortunate we didn't really need the rehab unit. We did use physical therapy. Ricky did develop neuropathy in his ankles and had the cutest little braces, which I just found about a month ago. And they have cars and trucks on the back of them. And he would go to physical therapy there, and just what Scottish Rite did for us, what you guys taking the time out of your lives, pledging to raise this money, donating your time, getting your family, your friends, complete strangers. I get the Facebook post. Y'all are relentless. It's awesome. It makes a huge, huge difference to families going through this to know that everything else is being taken care of, and all we have to focus on is our families. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm speaking for Rick, for Erin. What you have done, what you give of your time, it matters, it makes a difference. And for that reason, as long as you invite us back, we will be back here to thank you every year. And we applaud you. Thank you very, very much. Done to honor our family. Like, you have no idea, I'll never forget the day I got the email. Get an email from the alumni that they wanted to do something. They wanted to create an award that would be describing somebody who's been active in the organization, who's been an inspiration, who inspires others, who has a zest for life, who always made people laugh and smile, and they asked my permission to name it the Ricky James Spirit Award. You have no idea. I called Rick, he was at work, and I cried for 10 minutes before he understood anything. So I have been given the honor today to introduce the Alumni Committee, who are going to present the Ricky James Spirit Award for the 3rd year in a row.
I'm Haley Huskins. I was graduated last year, and I'm going to let us all introduce ourselves real quick, and then we will present this award.
Hey y'all, I'm Hallie Blinder, and I was the Restaurant Relations Chair last year.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian Baker and I graduated in 2014.
My name's Cole Phillips, I graduated in 2012.
I'm Jesse Milner, I graduated in 2015, but I was a 5th year, so.
Hey guys, I'm Ben Fogel and I also graduated in 2014.
So it is our great honor and pleasure to be able to pick for the Ricky James Spirit Award. This is something that means a lot to this organization, and this award is going to a senior who has just exemplified what this organization means, loving our families, loving this organization, and being so involved on this campus. So without further ado, we would like to present this award to Taylor Walden.
Y'all, we've known Taylor for all 4 years, so this is incredible for us. Y'all chose an amazing candidate, and we couldn't be prouder.